All right, so welcome to what I think is a very, very important video when it comes to Amazon KDP, and that is keyword research. So this is something that I genuinely think 95% of publishers perform in a suboptimal manner. So doing their keyword research and actually implementing those keywords into their books, most people do it in a very, very suboptimal way, to the point where they have to produce hundreds and hundreds of books just to get visibility. So keyword research and keyword implementation is mega important for visibility. I'm going to show you exactly how you can do that inside this video, much better than what you've been doing before. And one of the first things that I'm going to talk about, and what I think is a deterrent to doing this correctly and in an optimal manner, is why I don't use keyword research tools anymore. So that's going to be a mega important section of this video, because it's going to show you how I've pivoted from using keyword research tools to just doing the keyword research myself and having much more success. So from there, we're going to take a look at how I determine the main keyword for my book. So this is typically going to be the second step of your publishing journey. The first step being you find your niche, and then you need to find the keywords that pair best with that niche to help you get ranked fastest, etc. From there, we're going to take a look at where keywords are most and least powerful. We'll take a look at when they are most powerful, and we're going to take a look at some ways that you can acquire keywords. And I'm going to include some new ways in there that you haven't seen before. And what I'm going to do toward the end of this video is I'm going to have kind of a mega section here where I'm going to be doing live examples and a game plan. So by live examples, what I'll be doing is finding a niche and then pairing that with the keyword research and the implementation of that keyword to give the books that I search for the optimal chance of getting visibility fast, etc. And what I'll be doing at the end of this video is just something that I've kind of tagged on to this because in the last sort of couple of weeks, I've just released a new book, and what I've been doing is sort of testing keywords and the implementation of keywords in that book to see if I can get some new information I can present to you here, and that is going to be in this section toward the end here. So before we start, do yourself a favor and go to the description and join my Facebook group. You can chat with a load of like-minded publishers in there, and also if you want a specific question answered from me, and you're doing that through a YouTube comment, make sure that you leave the comment within the first 30 minutes to the first hour of this video going live, because that's when I answer pretty much all the comments that I can. But let's get into this video. It's a mega KDP keyword video. So let's start now, and we'll start with the first section, which is mega important, and why I don't use keyword research tools anymore, and why I think they're a deterrent when it comes to making sales in big niches. So to clarify before I start here, I think there is a place for keyword research tools. I can only go by what has worked best for me and present that information to you on my channel. But pivoting from using keyword research tools to actually just doing it myself has been a game changer for me. I'm going to explain why. And I promise you this section is going to change your perspective on keywords. So one of the main reasons is because with keyword tools, typically, and I think factually, they're inaccurate. Like the data does not come from Amazon, especially the search result data. So when a keyword research tool says, there's 20,000 search results per month, it's not Amazon's data. So if it's not Amazon's data, then I've got no reason to actually go by that. And also it does present you a very one-dimensional look at keywords as well. So I'll explain what I mean by one-dimensional as I go through the entirety of this video. So don't worry about that now. And again, this is not a dig at any keyword research tool. I know pretty much all these tools, they do specifically say that the search results are estimated. But that doesn't make them good, right? So the second reason is that it becomes what I think is a deterrent that doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to explain that, and I can promise you this is going to change your perspective when it comes to KDP and keyword research. So I'm going to do a live example of this now. So what you'll find, and this is not just with the keyword research tools, but this is the search results on Amazon. It's a massive deterrent for a lot of people when it comes to getting into niches that can make people a fuck ton of money. So this is a big problem with the keyword research tools, in my opinion, is that when you type in a niche and it comes back and says there's 20 or 30,000 competing books, people look at that and they get disappointed, and then they try and niche down to something that's got no audience, right? So for example, they'll type in easy coloring book for adults, they'll see that there are 20,000 or 50,000 search results, and then they go, oh, okay, well, I need to niche down now. And then they go for some obscure niche, like a large, easy banana coloring book for kids or whatever it is, just to reduce the competition, just to reduce the search results. So that can be good to have lesser search results. That obviously that can be a good thing. But if you're niching down to the point where you don't actually have an audience anymore, and then you take a week or 2 weeks or a month or 3 months to create a book based around that search result, you've just wasted a ton of time. Because what you'll find, especially in 2023, that there's going to be a direct correlation between the amount of search results and the amount of demand. So the less search results there are, the less demand is going to be. Like, KDP has been a thing for so fucking long that there's not really hidden niches anymore. Like, I'm sorry to say it, there just isn't. But that doesn't mean that we can't target massive niches and make massive money. So I'm going to head over to Amazon now and just try and clarify what I mean by this. And like I say, this will hopefully change your perspective when it comes to keyword research and keywords in general. So if we come over to Amazon here, what I've just typed in, if we can see at the top here, is easy coloring book for adults. What that brings back is 10,000 search results on the all section, and I think it's probably going to be 50,000 on the book section. Okay, so when you look at that, you're going to think this is a niche that's flooded, it's saturated, you can't get into this, there's too much competition, and the niche research tools are going to tell you there's too much competition as well. And then you're going to be like, oh, I'm not going to bother trying. So here's my perspective, and here's what has changed the game for me. It's what makes me pretty much all my sales on Amazon from about 30 to 35 books instead of 6 million books, is that how many books are actually easy, specifically easy coloring books for adults. How many people have actually positioned their book as an easy coloring book for adults? So if you come through the first page of results here, you're going to see shit like mindful patterns, boho coloring books, summer coloring books, kawaii coloring books, stress coloring books, etc, etc, etc. So positioning your book in a specific way is going to massively, I promise you, massively reduce the amount of direct competition that you have for your books. And when it comes to positioning your books, what you'll find with proper keyword implementation is that you can get ranked easy as shit as well. And this is something that people don't realize, they don't even try. With a little bit of ad spend, I guarantee you can get ranked in this niche without having to spend too much money. It all comes down to keyword research and keyword implementation being done in a very specific way, which of course I will go through in this video. But I'm just trying to make a point. There are not 50,000 books on Amazon that are specifically targeting easy coloring books for adults, okay? So my point here is that the search results, in my opinion, are massively skewed, and people miss out on getting into these really big niches that have got lots of traffic going to them. Obviously, easy coloring books for adults is something that people are searching for. They are definitely searching for that, and people are buying those types of books. It all comes down to positioning your book correctly to actually tap into that traffic. And again, that's why I think keyword research tools and the search results here in general are a deterrent when it comes to getting into them. And like I've noted here, large, easy banana coloring book, this is what people tend to do. And this is the reason why people have so many books with so little success, is because they get put off by the search results, the amount of competition, and they start niching down to these stupid fucking niches to the point where they don't actually have an audience. And then they wonder why they have to produce 500 to 6,000 books just to make like $200 a month on Amazon. Okay, that's not where the money is, in my opinion. Like, yes, there's nothing wrong with using the keyword research tools to niche down and make, very niche specific books, but you are going to have more of them. I can promise you that you're going to have a lot of books. That might fit into some people's business plan to keep creating book after book after book, but it doesn't for me. Like, I want to have less but higher quality books in bigger niches is my goal. That's what's worked for me, basically. So like I say, like I've been saying throughout this, is that we do get our shot at the bigger niches during the launch period, and especially when it comes to correct implementation of keywords, is that we do get that initial boost. We do get that shot at making these sales early on, especially, and that's why the launch of your book is so important. I won't talk too much about the launch of your book in this video, but the reality here is that even you know, even a 35-year-old guy that sat in his bedroom surrounded by monster energy drinks, he can have a shot at some of the biggest niches on Amazon. And that's what's worked for me. Like, this is one of the reasons why one of the a couple of the coloring books that I've made recently, they literally sell in their thousands every single month. Like, we do get that shot. We just have to capitalize on it when we do so. Okay, I think I need to calm down. I think I've had too many energy drinks actually, and try and present this video in a slightly calmer manner. But the average BSR for these tools as well, it doesn't really take into consideration the shit books that are out there as well. So I've used some of the research tools, and the average BSR for my best-selling book is apparently like 200,000. So what it does, it'll take the average BSR across like all the competing books and then give you this average BSR result. But it doesn't take into consideration shit books. It just works like as it is, as a robot basically, which again, I think it skews the results and perspectives. But again, I'm not going to keep ranting about that. And so can they be of use? And I think the answer, so would I use them? The answer is no. Can they be of use? I think the answer is yes. So there are some that do have like the category competition, which I think is a really good idea. It can help you sort of get the bestseller status quicker, etc., provided that you're not manipulating those categories. And I think you can actually use the keywords to sort of, you know, take shots at manual ad campaigns as well. So overall, like, I think for some people, I don't think they're a bad thing if you want to create more books. I'm just saying, like, you know, the numbers that people flash up on screen, like I've done myself, thousands and thousands of dollars a month from just a few books. You know, you don't need a keyword research tool to help you with that. In fact, I would go the complete opposite way and not use them if you want to get into those bigger niches. So what I would say is that I know that there are some free keyword research tools out there. Like, if you know, I would go ahead and try them. Obviously, it's down to you what you do, but I would say ads are a much better investment in my opinion, because you can, again, we'll get into this, but with correct keyword implementation, you can get your books ranked for less than $50. It's not that hard if you know how to do it. And I think they're actually a better investment than continuing to pay month after month for keyword research tools, but that's just what I do. Anyway, I feel like I've exhausted my ranting for that. Let's go ahead and talk about how you can determine what the main keyword for your book should be. So we've already established that we can't really use niche research tools because the data isn't accurate. So typically, we're going to be using the main keyword for our book in the title of our book, because that's where it holds the most power, that's where it's most potent. So this is what you're going to typically get ranked for first, this main keyword that you use in your title for your book. So you want to hedge your bets here and select what you think is going to be the most powerful keyword to rank for first after you start seeing sales. So I'm going to go through how I determine that now. So what I do is I think of all the logical variations people will search for within the niche that I'm targeting. Okay, so let's go ahead and assume that the niche that I'm targeting is going to be that easy coloring book for adults. So what I do when it comes to thinking of the different variations that people might be searching for, it's just to think logically and open up a notepad. So I'll just do that quickly now. Open up a notepad and just write down what you think are logical search terms that people are going to be searching for when it comes to the niche that you're in. So we were thinking about going into an easy coloring book. So what would people potentially be searching for if they're looking for like really easy coloring books for adults? So probably things like simple coloring book for adults, large print coloring books for adults. That's not technically an accurate description of what large print is, but that's something people might be searching for. Easy coloring book for seniors, coloring book for beginners, beginner coloring book for adults, bold coloring book or thick line coloring book, etc., etc. Just write down as many as you can think of, okay? And yes, like some of these are pretty shit because I've just gone and done it very quickly, but you understand what I'm doing here. Just write down as many as you can and then come over to Amazon and just do a check of what the kind of average BSRs are across the good books on the first page for the search results that you type in. So you do it one by one, so you can come across and search to start with simple coloring book for adults. So yeah, you'd search for a simple coloring book for adults. Just scroll through, and you want to have, I'm on a private window, so I don't have this BSR extension installed, but what you want to have, always have DS Amazon Quick View installed as a Chrome extension. It's going to show the BSRs on the bottom of the thumbnails here, so you don't have to go into each one to check the BSR. It's the best one you can ever use, the best tool you can use for KDP. It's free. Go ahead and get it. It's going to speed up your research 100 times over. So just go through and check to see how low the BSRs are, and just get a sort of rough idea as to what the average BSRs are across this page. I'm not going to get into how you should determine that by specific numbers, but it's something you will get a feel for over time. And basically what I'm getting at here is that you should go through that list of keyword search terms that you've put down and just see which ones bring back the best BSRs basically, and then use that one for your title. Congrats, you've done keyword research in the optimal way. So is that making sense? So you have your niche is an easy coloring book, and then you want to go through Amazon with the different variations that you can think of, and then just search for them on Amazon and do the research from there. So we got simple coloring book we could check, large print coloring book, easy coloring book for seniors, coloring book for beginners. Just go through all of them and just pick the one that makes the most sense in terms of it being logical and the ones that bring back the best BSR on the average. So let's go ahead and make the assumption that simple coloring book for adults was the one that brought back the best BSRs. So what I like to do from there is just to make sure that when you type that into the search bar at the top, that it brings back additional suggestions around that as well. So for example, we've got a simple landscape coloring book, we've got art therapy coloring book, simple patterns coloring book, simple large print. So for me, there's a suggestion here that not only is this something that is logically being searched for, but since people are searching for variations of that as well, it makes me think that there is there's a decent amount of demand for that. Since people are searching for variations as well, there must be demand for the kind of broad niche here that we're going for, if that makes sense. Okay, so with that in mind, we want to determine the main keyword for our book. So if we're not going to be using keyword research tools, we have to determine this ourselves. And that, again, this is what I highly recommend that people do, is to figure this out for yourself, because it's going to make much more sense. You can have an understanding as to why you've picked that keyword, and you're going to get ranked for that much quicker and start getting visibility much quicker to your book as well. So typically the main keyword for your book is going to be the ones that most people will use in the title for your book. I'll explain why later on, but that's what we will pretty much do with most of our main keywords, is to use them in the title for our book. So this is what you're going to get ranked for first. Typically, from my experiences, you will get ranked for the main keyword that you use in the title of your book first. So you want to hedge your bets here. You want to have the absolute best chance of getting visibility by using what you think is going to be the most powerful keyword. Again, it doesn't have to be from keyword research tools, because like we've established, that data is not Amazon. So we can do that ourselves and probably get a better estimate from doing it ourselves. I'm going to show you how. So what I like to do is to think of all the logical variations that people are searching for. So let's use our niche. We have to have the niche first before we start picking out keywords. So if our niche was an easy coloring book, for example, we want to write down, and this is what I do for every single book that I produce now, I promise you, is to write down the logical variations that people might be searching for that are related to your book. So I'll just open up my notepad and show you what I mean now. So let me just get this up on screen here. If you have an easy coloring book, what do you think people are going to be potentially searching for to find an easy coloring book on Amazon? So it could be a simple coloring book for adults. It could be a large print coloring book for adults. This is obviously not an accurate way to use the term large print, but people obviously do with coloring books. Easy coloring book for seniors, coloring book for beginners, beginner coloring book for adults, bold coloring book or thick coloring book, or I don't know, there's loads. I've just done this very quickly, but you want to write down as many logical search terms as possible. Okay, so get those ones down, and then what you want to do after that, I've gone ahead of myself here, but what you want to do is to do the research for every single one of those keyword phrases that you've just come up with. Okay, so typically if you're typing those phrases into the search bar and you get sort of variations that come back in the search bar, then that could be a sign that that keyword is a better one to use. I'll show you what I mean by that now. So if we come over to Amazon here and use one of these keywords as an example that we've picked, so we went with simple coloring book for adults. Now, if we can see that there are variations in the searches, like we have landscape, dementia, Mandela, art therapy, patterns, large print, easy, large 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, blah. Okay. There are there are variations of this term that's being searched for. So to me, that suggests that there is potentially traffic going to this broad term, simple coloring book for adults, just because there are people searching for variations of that, more specific versions of that, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's a good sign. I typically look out for that. It's not the main thing I look out for, but it definitely helps me get some confidence when it comes to picking my main keyword. Okay, so what you want to do is go through every single one of those phrases that you've noted down, and then do the research only on the first page. That's all you need to do. First page research, that's where everyone buys shit, on the first page of the search results, and do your research from there. So I don't have it up on screen because I'm using a private browser for this, just so I don't skew the search results. But you want to have DS Amazon Quick View. If you don't have it, it's free. Go and get it. It's going to speed up your niche research a million times. But basically what it does, it just shows the BSR underneath the thumbnails, so you don't have to go into every single listing to see the BSR. I'm not going to make this video about BSRs and what I think is a good number to search for, because it's going to be dependent on too many different factors. But you want to do that research based off of that BSR and how consistently low the BSR is across the first page for the search term you've typed in. So we can go ahead and we can just sort of remove, if we can see the BSRs, which we can't obviously, and there's some that are really bad because the book looks like a bag of shit, then we can sort of just ignore those ones and just do the average BSR check across the good books. Okay, so again, just go through them, look to see how low they are, see if that matches with the amount that you have in mind. So for example, if I was doing a simple coloring book, I'd want the BSRs to be like under 50,000 typically across most of the books on the first page. Okay, but again, I won't get into how I determine those numbers. I think that's something for another video. But what I'm saying is that those BSRs, that will determine factually how much traffic is going to those books. Okay, because the BSRs, you can't lie with them. They are produced by Amazon. They are how many, it determines if they're low, it's because the books have got lots of sales going to them, like it's factual. That's why I use this data only when it comes to doing a keyword research. So if all the BSRs are quite low, when you go ahead and type in simple coloring books for adults, then you're going to make the assumption that that is a pretty strong keyword to go for. Okay, so like I say, you'd go ahead and you do that across all the different logical search terms, and then you'd be using that as your main keyword. And that's, in my opinion, the absolute best way you can do your keyword research for the main keyword for your book. Okay, so like I say, you want to do an average BSR check across the worthy books. And by worthy books, I mean, like, if you can see a book that has somehow made it to the front page and it is obviously very, very bad and it has a very bad BSR to pair with that, just ignore it. Okay, like, you don't need to take that into consideration. So moving on from that, after we've established what our main keyword for our book is going to be, I'm going to talk about the subtitles in just a moment. But we want to understand where keywords are most and least powerful, because this is something that people obsess over. And I'm going to make this very clear and very quick and very obvious as to, from my findings, where keywords are most and least powerful. Most potent, from my experience, in the title of the book and the subtitle. I'm going to show you at the end of the video what I mean by that. It's going to prove basically why Amazon's never saturated, followed by back-end keywords, the 7 boxes, and then the description. Like, I don't know, who knows, do keywords get indexed from the description? Who gives a fuck? Like, who cares? Okay, just focus on your title and your subtitle, trust me. Okay, so that moves me on to finding your subtitle keywords. Now this is important. I think paired with a title, you can get found in so many different ways when you pick correct keywords for your subtitle as well. So if you remember correctly, we had the main keyword, which was determined by logic and the Amazon suggestions, and then of course we did like an average BSR check across those across the books for the search term that we were going for. Okay, so that determines the title for our book, or what we want to include in the title typically. That leaves us with the remaining keywords that we want to use for our subtitles. So one way that you can do this, and one way that I've typically done this, is just to take a list of keywords from my competitors' books, so people in the same niche as me. Take a list of keywords that they are using frequently. So look across the first page for all those different search results. Look at the books that are selling well. Take obvious keywords. So if you have an easy coloring book for adults, And lots of people who are ranked high are using like the word senior or thick lines or patterns or whatever it is. Use those words as well. Jot them down into a notepad and just keep a list of your competitors' keywords, okay? Because that's working well for them, so it should work for you. Now, this is another way that you can grab keywords, and it's something that I've just randomly fell upon the other day just to get keywords, is that you can use the Amazon ad suggestions. Okay, so you will have to have a book in the niche set up already to do this. So what I've done here is just to set up a manual targeting campaign for a similar book that I've already had published, a similar coloring book. And what you can actually do here is come down to the keyword targeting and take a look at some of the suggestions that Amazon comes back for when it comes to targeting keywords for your ad campaigns. I would take this with a pinch of salt as well, because whilst this is obviously going to be Amazon's data, it is referring to advertising campaigns. So what you can see here is that you can actually order these by the keywords that have historically the most ordered and which have the most clicked on as well, which is quite interesting. I didn't know this existed until the other day, but it is quite telling that some of these keywords are probably going to be ones that are being searched for as well, right? So I've got an easy coloring book that I've got above. It has obviously targeted large print, which I don't use. Horse, which is not related at all. Women, you could probably put that in. Senior, you might want to put that in if it makes sense to. Animal, not related, but maybe it is for yours. Senior, flower, not related. Dementia, would probably avoid that in general. But my point is, you could go through this and just start looking for different keywords that you've not used in the title for your book, and add that to your sort of keyword list. And of course, you also have those keywords that you've not used from your other variations of searches as well. So if you went for, what was it, the simple coloring book, you still have like easy, you still have beginner, you still have bold, you still have all those other keywords that you can then go ahead and craft your subtitle from. Okay, so this way you're going to be hedging your bets again and using lots of powerful keywords that you could potentially get ranked for and found with. Okay, so I suppose you could use keyword research tools for this part. You know, there are some decent keyword research tools out there that you can use that will give you plenty of suggestions. Yeah, for your subtitle, it's possible that you could use that, but I would not do it when it comes to doing your main keyword research. Okay, so let's move on and do a live example and talk about what my kind of plan is when it comes to implementing keyword research and keywords into my book. So the first step here is that you need to have your broad niche kind of ready for you. So you've done your niche research or whatever it is, and you've decided upon that you want to go for, let's say, a flower coloring book. Okay, so we use that as an example, and that's our broad niche, is the flower coloring book. And then we want to sort of work out what are going to be the best ways to sort of position our book on Amazon, what are the best keywords that we can use, how to come up with a title. So the second step is, of course, that we need to determine what that main keyword is going to be. So what do we do when it comes to the main keyword? Is we write down all the different variations that people are potentially searching for when it comes to a flower coloring book. So it's going to be pretty obvious what they're going to be. So again, let's go back to our notepad and we're going to type in what we think are going to be some logical search terms for that type of niche. So flower coloring book would be an obvious one. Coloring book of flowers, flower coloring book for adults, flower coloring book for seniors, flower coloring book for kids, botanical coloring book, etc, etc, etc. Okay, so doing this in this way will also help you kind of pick out what the audience is going to be as well. Okay, so if we get better results for a flower coloring book for adults than we do if we search for a flower coloring book for kids, then I'm going to go with flower coloring book for adults as my main keyword, and that what I'll be producing the book around. Okay, so let's go over to Amazon and we'll start doing the research for that now. Okay, so I'm actually using my proper browser now so we can see the BSR extension. So remember what we're going to do is check the average BSRs across the front page for our search results. So we're going to go through them one by one. We'll start with flower coloring book for adults. We're going to go through and take a look, and we'll ignore the sponsored listings for now. Let's just go through and take a look at how low the BSRs are, and we'll note them down mentally as we go through. And as you do this, the more often you do this, the better you'll get at determining how much traffic a keyword has got going to, or a niche has got going to. Okay, so 2,000, 21,000, 6,000, 1,000, 5,000, 64,000, 84,000, 300. 67,000, 10,000, 4,000, 5,000, 72,000. You should be able to look now at this point and say to me whether you think this has got decent amounts of traffic going to it. Like, can this book, if you create a good book in this niche, can you make $500 a month with it? Yes, you can. Okay. So the problem here is not being ranked for the book. The problem comes from staying ranked and getting organic sales. So that's when it comes to a whole different ball game, which is not producing a bag of shit book and producing something that people actually want. Because once you get to this page, you want to keep getting organic sales to stay there. Okay, so that's where big money comes from with KDP. I absolutely promise you. Okay, so the BSRs, they're looking pretty good for that. We can go through the rest of them now though. I'll just do one more as an example. Let's do flower coloring book for kids. Again, we have these kind of branch off terms, which, which looks good, which suggests there's probably traffic going to it. Let's just do through this, and you'll find sometimes the results are presented to you vertically instead of horizontally. I still don't know what that means. I think it's a sign that there's not as much demand and competition for these type of books. I think it means there's not as much, it's not a very sought after phrase when this happens. Okay, I'm not 100% sure, but again, you can do your research like this. Just come through. We have 46,000, 28,000, 149, 4,000. They got a non-related Mario book. Good job, dumbass. 199,000, 98,000, 200,000, 5,000, which is for adults. For toddlers, 369,000, 300,000. 200,000. So I think it's okay, but I think I'd prefer to do it for adults. I think the results were much better. I don't care about the competition. We can still get ranked pretty easily for a flower coloring book for adults. Okay, so obviously I'd spend more time doing that and going through the different search terms, but flower coloring book for adults would probably be the one that I'd settle on for that niche. So step 3 is we need to determine the subtitle keywords and build the entire subtitle around that as well. So remember, we can use that whole Amazon ad thing if you want to. I wouldn't recommend it if you don't have books and you can't do that, obviously. But what we can do is go through the competition, write down all the different keywords that we can use for our subtitle, and build a subtitle from that. So let's just write down what we have for the title for our book so far, which is flower coloring book for adults. Then what I'd start doing is just to go through and see which words I can see are being used multiple times across similar books. Okay, so we have ones like stress relief and relaxation that I don't use. I don't know if you should be claiming stress relief in your book titles. That's a dodgy one. Obviously that's down to you. So we got patterns we could potentially use, swirls we could potentially use, floral is something we could potentially use, nature, seniors, large print, again, maybe you don't want to use that. Beautiful term comes up a lot as well, whether that's a good search term or not. It's a good descriptive word that we could use, so I would probably use that. Bouquet, botanical, easy is a word that's being used quite a lot. So what you'd end up with is, again, this is just something I've done quickly, but we have the main keyword, which was the flower coloring book for adults, and then we would come up with a subtitle. Again, it has to make sense, but we are putting in what we think are relevant keywords as well. So 50 beautiful and simple floral illustrations to color with bold lines. I don't know if that makes sense 100%, but we're getting the keywords in there whilst making sure that it makes sense as well. Okay, so that's how I'd implement keywords into the title and the subtitle for optimal visibility, which is going to move me on to a noteworthy section of this video. So before I do that, I just want to move on to step 4, which is to launch the book with auto ads. So what you're going to find once you launch the book and you get sales from your ad campaigns, typically I will just use auto ads just to get sales as soon as possible, is that you're going to get ranked for your main keyword first. Okay, I promise you, I've tested this so many times. You'll get ranked for your main keyword first, okay? And then you'll start getting ranked for variations of your title and subtitle after that. So step 5 is to monitor keyword placements. Now, I like doing this because I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to keywords, but it helps me get an understanding as to where the keywords are most powerful, and if I am actually getting ranked for variations of those keywords as well. I'm going to show you that in this noteworthy section now. So a noteworthy test, I've just recently released a new coloring book, and I've done this in a very specific way where I've kind of gone against what I preach, which is to have that kind of main keyword first and try and get ranked for that, and then get ranked for the variations of that. So what I did was kind of jumble most of the keywords up, and I'm going to show you an example of what I mean by that. It made sense, but I didn't do this in my typical logical fashion. So like I say, I didn't use the main keyword in the title, but what happened is I got ranked for keywords. I did get ranked for those keywords and variations of it, but it was just a little bit slower. And what I'm about to show you is the reason why, in my opinion, KDP is never going to be truly saturated. So let me take a look very quickly at what that kind of title, what it kind of looked like. So here's a title and subtitle that was kind of similar to what I was doing. It's a beautiful bunnies coloring book. This title is not something people are searching for. They're not going to be searching for a beautiful bunnies coloring book, right? And then we just have like our 80 simple and easy illustrations of cute rabbits for seniors to color, whatever it is, okay? But what I found was that we still got ranked for variations of all these different terms, okay? So we got ranked for simple coloring book, which we know people are searching for. We got ranked for easy coloring book for adults. We got ranked for rabbit coloring book for seniors, because we have these versions, these keywords in the title and our subtitle. So we are actually getting ranked for all these different search terms, like simple bunny book as well. I can't remember what it was, but I wrote down a list of what I was getting ranked for. And it was all kinds of crazy variations of the title and the subtitle, but it just took longer to happen, okay? So that's the importance of implementing keywords correctly into your book title and your subtitle as well, because you will get ranked for them. But if you can do it in an optimal manner, like I've explained and outlined in this video, it will happen quicker, I can promise you. So when it comes to getting ranked for more broad terms like coloring book or adult coloring book, it's going to take more sales for that to happen, okay? So the first things that you're going to get ranked for are sort of more specific search terms like simple coloring book or seniors easy coloring book, etc, etc. And if you can get enough sales, you will start getting ranked for these very, very broad terms, but it will take a fuck ton of sales for that to happen. You don't need to make great sales from KDP, but just bear in mind that that will take a while for you to get ranked for those type of keywords. All right, so that's pretty much all my observations on KDP keywords and research and implementing them into your books. That's it for this video. See you soon.